Beauty sells and beauty attracts.
Welcome to the Service to Syndication podcast, where we interview the biggest and most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, capital raisers in the world who have worn the uniform of this great country, those who provide services to our men and women in uniform, and other service-oriented professionals to provide you with the tool sets, the mindsets, and the skill sets to help you conquer your dreams and goals in real estate and to use this wealth creation vehicle so you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of generosity and prosperity. If what you desire is time, lifestyle, and financial freedom, you've come to the right place. We will bring to you the best real estate entrepreneurs who will give you the insights, the knowledge, experience, skills, so you can go out and crush it in whatever real estate asset class you desire. So grab a pencil and paper, sit back, and enjoy the ride on the Service to Syndication podcast.
Hello, my servicemen and women and other service providers. Welcome to another episode of the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Cedric Marlowe. I am a U.S. Navy vet. Here on the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast, we interview the most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, capital raisers in the world, where most have donned the uniforms of our great country. We aim to provide the tool sets, the mindset, and skill sets for you to achieve your personal and business goals while using real estate as a wealth creation vehicle to help you live a more successful, happy, and fun-filled life. Everyone, today we have another exciting guest with us. Today we have Mr. Byron Carlock. I'm super excited because he is a top-notch real estate professional. But before I properly introduce our exciting guest to you, I want to ask a favor of you as always. Please, if you get some value out of this interview, share this episode with some of your friends. Send it to someone you know who might be or could be interested in real estate. Share it on your social media, post it on your wall, or share it in your stories. Help us spread our message while you help others. And for all of you who share this episode, I want to say thank you. Again, everyone, I have with me today Mr. Byron Carlock. Byron served as PwC's U.S. real estate practice leader until his retirement in July of 2023. With 38 years of experience serving the industry, he brought extensive knowledge of the real estate cycle, including matters ranging from strategic planning and property transaction advisory to capital formation and business plan execution. In addition, he has expertise in governance, board matters, mergers and acquisitions, and corporate conflict matters. Byron has experience advising major clients, including corporate owners and users, developers, hospitality organizations, investors, and REITs. Prior to assuming his current role, Byron served as the CEO and president of CNL Lifestyle Properties. For 7 years, served CNL as president of 2 other REITs over his 11-year tenure there. His resume also includes 3 years as executive vice president and chief investment officer of Post Properties and 9 years as managing director for Trammell Crow and Crow Holdings related entities. Byron earned his BBA at Harding University and participated in the International Asian Studies program at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, where he was a Rotary Scholar for the state of Arkansas. Byron also earned his MBA at Harvard Business School and is an inactive CPA. Byron has been extensively featured in media, including the Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, CNBC, Fox Business News, and the New York Times, and wrote a regular monthly column for National Real Estate Investor and served as PwC publisher and spokesperson for emerging trends in real estate for 12 years. Byron was also named by D Magazine as one of the D500 most influential businessmen in Dallas. He remains a governor with the Urban Land Institute. He is on the executive committee of A Fire and executive committee for American Friends of Musée d'Orsay,
DLC.
USA, and Byron remains a board member emeritus of the Harvard Business School Alumni Association, where he served as vice president. All right, Byron, thank you again for this interview. One of the things that I like to do with my guests is kind of summarize your real estate experience in 75 seconds or less.
Well, Cedric, thank you for having me today, and it's a pleasure to be with you. And I've so enjoyed hearing about what you're doing in the industry. It's a powerful industry for creating value for an investor as well as social change for the users. And I'm excited to see your position in this. I started as a development associate at Trammell Crow company. So I've done development, I've done leasing, I've done sales, and I migrated more toward capital markets and then leadership in the REIT investment and then service industry at PwC.
Okay, great. So now can you kind of like just walk us through your journey and how you became involved in real estate in general, and particularly through PwC?
Certainly. Well, I grew up in a small town in Arkansas. My family was in the automobile business. I decided in high school I did not want to go into the automobile business. So I was in college looking for my passion, and I discovered a love for real estate and had the good fortune after grad school to work for the Trammell Crow company, which at the time was one of the largest private landlords in the world, and learned a lot, met great people, and still have great relationships from that experience. I migrated more into the capital markets and leadership as I looked at leading activities in public and private investment companies, and then was asked by PwC to lead the national real estate practice, where in that position, you're able to see the activities across the entire spectrum of products: office, industrial, multifamily, single family, home building, infrastructure, hospitality, REIT structures, limited partnership structures, fund structures, private equity, and really begin to discern where the trends are, both in terms of demand and supply, and the capital markets overlay for providing the funds to do that, because as you know, we're a very capital intensive industry. So those last 12 years of my career were especially enjoyable as I got to know and serve major players in each of those areas that I just mentioned, as we look to use our industry to transform society. Whether it's rethinking our built environment on a city-by-city basis, whether it's rethinking the effects of climate change on our development and redevelopment activities, whether it's thinking about how we integrate transit and our carbon footprint to the way we move around our cities and move around our nation and move around our world. All of it's interrelated. And right now, Cedric, we are in a very unique environment where the real estate industry is a primary driver of how we live, how we use space, and the social issues associated with that.
Yeah. Good. So what drew you to focus on the full real estate life cycle from acquisition to disposition?
Well, an idea is only an idea if it gets executed. And in our industry, that execution requires capital. So early in my career, I realized that every deal needed to have the right financial partner and the right financial structure. And I just enjoyed the exercise of finding that right fit of the opportunity with capital. That was a fun thing for me. And so that was a natural migration. I do still enjoy development and redevelopment. In my retirement, I have a company called Preservation Properties that focuses on rural renewal. And I do like the development and redevelopment process, but I really enjoy the money process as well.
So are there any pivotal moments or projects in your career that shape your approach to real estate?
One day you wake up and the music has stopped. So coming out of this last one here, we're finally looking at an opportunity after nearly 4 years of capital markets constraint, as the banks have really slowed their lending and investors have been on the sidelines, yet demand has continued to march forward. So here we find ourselves beginning this next cycle with huge demand, especially in housing, and we have to very quickly pivot to address the opportunities and match the right capital structure with those opportunities and ride it up, but be prepared for another downturn, because they do come every 4 to 7 years. And so we are undersupplied in housing today by, you might say, at least 3 million units, depending on which reports you use. It's been as high as 6 million units. And So we are rethinking the way we use space.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I know with being here in the Philadelphia market, people have really began to become more creative with regards to they may tear down an old single family home, but then they put in place an apartment building that may have three families, four families. So they go vertical versus staying just delivering one unit. They're delivering four.
Be grateful you're in a market that allows that, because most municipalities still do not allow that diversity of product within a given jurisdiction. And the zoning and variance process to make that happen can take forever and be so expensive that you give up before you start. And so one of the things that we need to address and are addressing municipality by municipality is looking at building codes, code enforcement, variances, things to help us move toward creating the environment we want to create. But many of the building codes done in the post-World War II years limited size and lot usage in most neighborhoods. And so some of that code enforcement and decision process has to change in order to rethink how we use density and what kind of product we deliver neighborhood by neighborhood, street by street.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because that's one of the biggest constraints that I hear here in the city is that process of changing, say, an RSA 5, which is just a single family home, to like an RM1, which is a multifamily type of structure. So it's a long drawn out process, and you have to go through various, interactions in front of boards and things of that. And you're so true, where there's been so many people, they will just wipe their hands of the deal and they'll just sell the lot off to someone else because they kept getting pushback from the community leaders. And a lot of those things now are archaic in most of these communities. Things that were built, like you said, back in the post-war days, they don't apply to what's going on now in the society.
But I'll offer a caveat. Some people want to take a cheap lot and put a cheap house on it, and that doesn't add to the fabric of the neighborhood. We still need to maintain taste levels, architectural standards, and code enforcement. And so just because there's a cheap lot that is available doesn't mean you have to put a cheap structure on it. We still need to stand by some of the great old building codes, especially I'm fond of what was built in the 20s as an example, to remind ourselves that the fabric of a neighborhood is what is going to be long-lasting and beautiful, because over time, beauty sells. Beauty attracts good residents, and beauty sells the image of the neighborhood and the city. And we cannot deny that as an important attribute as we rethink our built environment. Beauty has to be a piece of it. We have to think of it in the terms of placemaking. What kind of sidewalk do you want to walk down? What kind of porch do you want to sit on? What kind of streetscape, hardscape, landscaping do you want to look at as you enjoy an environment? And so being diligent about how we lay out our neighborhoods and lay out our cities and envision our built environment only adds to the quality of life characteristics of each jurisdiction where we spend our time. And who wants to spend time in an ugly place?
Absolutely. No one. I agree. So what do you consider the most critical phase in the real estate life cycle, and why?
I'm big on the planning process. Okay. What do we want the built environment to look like? So if you have a beautiful product that no one's going to lease, that doesn't help anyone. But if you have a beautiful product that is attractive to the environment, affordable to the user, and sets a long-term investment opportunity in place for the investors and owners, I think that's win-win. And I think those types of structures have been enduring over time. I like mixed use. I like the opportunity to bring uses into an environment that satisfy lifestyle needs. At Post Properties, we were early pioneers in creating live, work, walk neighborhoods that integrated multifamily experiences with retail and even single-family sales. And I really was proud of what we could do to change the face of a neighborhood by introducing product that offered a live, work, walk environment in a beautiful setting with great product for renters and buyers. That was that was very fulfilling.
I see so many of those type of communities sprouting up in and around Philadelphia, not necessarily in Philadelphia, but around in the surrounding counties. And I've never heard that terminology, live, work, walk. And you actually see it, people living there, walking to the store, to the Starbucks on the corner, or the gymnasium that's, a franchise gym that has popped up right there in their neighborhood, and their cars just parked right there. And then, of course, now, especially now with more people working from home, so you're just kind of right there in that neighborhood, in that community of where you're living, working, and walking.
100%. Well, you and I both grew up in small towns, and I think in our hearts, we all want to live in Mayberry. And you want to walk down the street where you're waving at someone on the front porch and walking to the neighborhood grocery store to get a loaf of bread because your mom sent you there, or ride your bike, or pet the neighbor's dog. It harkens back to development that's been long lasting since people began developing neighborhoods. There's a great old book that many architects read, and it was real pivotal for my education, called A Pattern Language. And it's the way towns and neighborhoods are laid out for the benefit of long-term enjoyment and enduring beauty. And it's a mix of materials that include stone and green space and lovely architecture and metal and the sounds of running water and the positioning of buildings on their site so that they are not too crowded or too undensified. It's using the land properly to create an attractive environment. And so if you look at European communities, for example, we go over to Europe and we walk those streets and go, wow, why can't we have something like this? And it's because in our boom years, we put up shoddy product that doesn't necessarily last and age well. We were especially guilty of that from the 50s to the 70s. And I had a mentor one time say, a lot of that stuff just needs to be torn down and re-envisioned. And that's what we're seeing happen now in certain neighborhoods, where the ugly stuff's coming down and good stuff's going up, or the ugly stuff's being repurposed into space that is more aesthetically attractive to not only its long-lasting image, but for the users that are going to occupy the space. Beauty sells and beauty attracts.
Yes, totally agree. Now, over the 38 plus years you've been in the real estate industry, how has the approach to capital structuring evolved over the years?
That's a great question, Cedric. I think when I started, our industry was very much a landlord developer industry. And then in the 90s, we saw the birth and rebirth of the REIT industry for institutional ownership, where individual investors could have shares in that REIT and enjoy the dividend flow through of a REIT structure. That was probably the biggest financial feat of our industry as we recovered from the savings and loan crisis and transitioned from exclusively developer ownership to institutional ownership, and real estate became an institutional asset class that began to have credibility inside the portfolio of most major investors, so that a percentage of your portfolio included real estate. And then we saw that mature even more into the 90s and 2000s, and today with the private equity real estate funds that take real estate and buy it, fix it, and then sell it. So there is an intermediate capital position for the fund to create value by buying and fixing something and then selling it into long-term institutional ownership. That's been a big change in the capital structure. I will tell you, though, that in the last 20 years, lower interest rates has really made a big difference, because the cost of money to facilitate change is a big piece of the capital stack in a real estate endeavor. And so I'm pleased to see rates falling again. I don't know how much further they will fall. I hope they fall more. But cheap interest rates really do help inspire real estate activity.
Absolutely. Yep. Now, what are some common pitfalls investors face in the mergers and acquisitions transactions in the real estate sector?
I think it's like a marriage. You have to make sure you're getting the right partner and know what you're getting, and then make sure that you're going to get the synergy and combination that the growth looks like it promises on paper, then it has to be executed in reality. I think the biggest pitfall is the social pitfall. Who's going to be in charge? How are they going to work together? How are the boards going to merge? How is the culture going to be preserved or improved? There's an old saying, culture can eat strategy for breakfast. If you don't have people that love each other and enjoy working together, things just don't move forward. I love that book, Good to Great, that really told us that successful companies have the right people on the bus because they enjoy being on the bus together. And so the entities that I've been a part of, I've found magic happens when the right people are doing the right things. And that's often the big pitfall in a merger, where some analyst on Wall Street shows you that you can create synergy on paper by coming together, but then you get together and you don't like each other. That's not a good recipe for success. So I would say the social piece is number one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You definitely have to, when you're merging, just in the partnership in general, you both have to like each other, and you have to, your synergy has to be there in order for you to move forward in whatever business plan that you have in front of you. So I totally agree 100%. And how have shifts in the global
We know you're gonna like this episode, so please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel so you can be notified when the next episode drops.
capital markets impacted real estate investments?
Well, they come and go. It's really interesting. I mean, when I started in the 80s, the Japanese money was abundant in America. And then as you know, it stopped. And so the REIT structures allowed for domestic money to begin incubating those REITs. And then within a matter of 10 years, you did see some foreign owners come into the REIT structure as investors. And I'm on the board of a company called a trade association called AFIRE, Association of Foreign Investors in Real Estate. And you can watch the flows of international capital in and out of our market, depending on the cycles that we're in. And right now, I will tell you that in our country, the polarization of our nation right now is causing a pause among international investors that I hope we can win back, because they look at the infighting among our policymakers and our ideologies, and it doesn't present us well on the international stage. And we've got to work hard to improve that. And I do see international investors, especially large, wealthy family offices from abroad, seeing great opportunity in U.S. real estate. We are an attractive and large market for investors from all over the world, but we need to present ourselves in a way that makes us attractive. I will tell you that our contract law, our leases, our enforceability, our legal system, our transparency, all make us very attractive as an investment market vis-a-vis other countries of the world. And so I think that the future can be bright for investors from all over the world to find a haven for safe investment in the U.S. And that's a huge amount of capital we don't need to ignore.
Okay. So since we're down right there in this area, where over the last, say, 15 years or so, especially since the rebound of the 2008 credit crisis, where have you seen the most influx of foreign capital? What countries?
Well, the Dutch have remained active. The Japanese have come back. The Chinese investors were very, very, very active through the thousands. And then I think that it just stopped. I think part of that was politically driven. Part of it was the Chinese Communist Party deciding to focus internally as opposed to externally. And then, of course, that was an example of the ideology affecting foreign investment. But the Chinese were very active in the 2000s and 2010s. See inflows from Latin America. I do see inflows from a lot of ultra high net worth wealthy family offices that are diversifying to make sure they have U.S. investment. The Canadians have stayed active throughout the process. The way the Canadians have a savings plan that requires a mandatory savings, just like the Australians do, creates these superannuation pension funds that are looking for investments, across the entire allocation spectrum of stocks, bonds, and real estate and private equity. And so the Canadians have been very prolific investors.
So what trends do you foresee in real estate capital markets over the next decade?
Cedric, I think one of the most important ones to watch is the convergence of real estate as we know it across the major food groups, office, industrial, retail, multifamily, with energy and infrastructure. As you look at the growth of data centers, as an example, as we explore what's happening with the cloud and AI, it requires a lot of energy. And so we're now seeing the interdependence between energy strategy and real estate strategy and infrastructure strategy to facilitate the interaction between how we use real estate and how we deliver real estate. And so looking at where data centers are locating next to energy sources, looking at the strain on our energy grid by the increased use of data centers of energy, looking at our utilities and our public service commissions, trying to address the supply of energy. It's all interrelated. And I think that's the biggest trend we've got to get our heads around in order to move into the next cycle. That's on the technology side of our industry. The second is this trend toward housing America affordably and attainably. You mentioned a moment ago about how expensive it's gotten. I don't know how it could do anything but. The law of supply and demand would suggest if people have more demand than there is supply, prices are going to go up, and that's exactly what we've been seeing. So we've got to see incentive and opportunities for our developers to deliver more product and deliver it more affordably in places where it's needed. You can look at global housing stats and say, oh my goodness, it looks like we've got enough housing for the population. The reality is some of that housing's in the wrong places, and it's the wrong type of housing. And so we need to think about neighborhood by neighborhood, city by city, reimagining our built environment to provide the type of housing that's needed for that particular market, and then give the land use and the structures to developers to deliver that.
All right. So what role did mentorship play in your career, and what advice do you give those entering the field today?
Cedric, that's a beautiful question. Mentors played a huge role in my life, and I'm very, very grateful. Last night, I went to a dinner party celebrating one of my mentors' 50 years in the industry, and it was like a family reunion because everyone at the table had been a mentor to me in one way or the other, and I'm so grateful for that affiliation with the Crow Company. Just terrific, terrific human beings. And I think we all have a responsibility to give back and put your arm around a young real estate student and help them find what area of the industry is interesting to them, because our industry is so big and so diverse across development activities, investment activities, lending activities, architectural, construction, city planning. There's a niche that can fit almost any personality for someone that's interested in our industry. And I'm watching our colleges and universities become much more deliberate about delivering real estate related content to their business curriculums because it's such an important pillar of our society. And so I think in your market, Oscar Nakahara at University of Pennsylvania has a wonderful program that is really effectively mentoring young people into the industry. Sam Shandon at NYU, the University of Wisconsin, Texas A&M, SMU has a great real estate finance program, Georgetown, Villanova. There are so many great schools doing great things in real estate as it's delivering young people into the industry to find a place that makes a long-term career for them, just as we've enjoyed. And it's fun to get to talk to those young people as they idealistically and excitedly enter the field. And we've got to train them just like when we were coming out of school. The best jobs were in the bank training programs and some of the leasing programs at the major service providers. I think we're seeing now careers available across the entire real estate life cycle to bring young people into mortgage finance, as well as architecture, construction management, project management, property management, asset management, lending, development. There's a spot for young people in many, many different areas of our industry.
Yes, I second that as well. I know now that, as I scroll through Facebook or you name it, there's those advertisements that pop up, for this university, that university, in terms of the real estate. I know here in the Philadelphia market, everybody knew coming through, Temple University had the best real estate school around, but now they're all leveling up, realizing that real estate is such a main focal point to our economy, and they're building those professionals to go out and lead the way forward. So
yes, indeed.
So how can firms like PwC continue to support their professionals in navigating complex real estate transactions?
Great question. Well, my partners at PwC are serving some of the largest landlords and investors in the world, and are publishing the Emerging Trends in Real Estate magazine with the Urban Land Institute each year. Allows us an audience to share our research and our thoughts going forward. It's our activities at the firm relate to traditional services in audit, tax, and advisory work. I think our industry is now moving into the technological era in a bigger way, using cloud computing and AI to make the investor experience more user-friendly, to make the research experience easier to prepare market studies and understand a neighborhood dynamics, leasing dynamics, occupancy dynamics. We're moving into an era that is faster and more technologically advanced than the bricks and sticks that you and I were trained in. And it's an exciting time for the industry to see that. More importantly, I think every investor wants to have a piece of their portfolio dedicated to hard assets that you can see, touch, and feel. So real estate's getting a more important piece of the investment portfolio because it's an important piece of our lives as we think about how we use space and how we enjoy the communities and structures that house us and or surround us. So I think the firm is trying to be very deliberate in the way it serves our clients as they provide these buildings, neighborhoods, structures, and services to the population at large.
If you were starting your career in real estate today, what would you do differently?
That's a great question. I tell you, there's probably not a lot. Mr. Crow once said that he thinks everyone should start as a leasing agent because the lease is the foundation of the way we make money in real estate. And I think that wisdom still prevails today, even though the industry has changed so much. I would say that starting as a leasing and development associate was a great way to learn how to get a building out of the ground, how to lease it up, how to serve the tenants, and how to create long-term value. So that was a great way to start. I do think I probably should have spent some more time in New York in the financial community. I never lived in New York. I've done a lot of business in New York, but I do think as a financial center, New York and London still have major positions in our financial markets that one cannot ignore as one starts out, especially if you're going into the financial side of the business. Then there's also an argument to say you should start in the construction and development side of the business to understand how to manage costs because costs have gone up so much. So I'm not sure there's a one right answer. I love the way I started. I'd probably do it again, but I might have figured out a way to be an analyst in New York to be more savvy on the finance side.
Okay. And kind of piggybacking off that question, what part of your career are you most proud of and why?
The people. I was getting ready to go to that dinner last night, and 4 of my partners from PwC were at a meeting in Paris, and they FaceTimed me as I was walking out the door to say hello. And I've been gone since July of 2023, but I have a great love for the people that I've been able to be a part of the organization across the various stages of my career. Just, I think at the heart of our life experience is relationships and the people we get to go through the journey with, and that's what I'm proudest of.
So what advice would you give to aspiring real estate professionals looking to emulate your success?
Well, don't be afraid of the hard work because it's not easy. I think digging into a particular project or market is the best way to get your hands dirty and familiar with how to create value in the industry. But I would say even more important than that is doing it with people that you enjoy and you respect. So planting yourself in an organization, and don't focus on the initial pay package, focus on the training. Don't focus on the project, focus on the people, and see who you can learn the most for, because those are going to give you the skills to then transfer into whatever other project or market you want to go into.
Okay. So what do you think are the biggest misconceptions about working in the real estate sector?
That everyone's rich and every deal is going to be successful, because you've got winners and losers, and you've got cycles that are up and cycles that are down. So learning how to deal with both is critical, because that perfect project could be a bust. That perfect market could have a downturn. That perfect banker could retire. Things change all the time in our industry, and there are lots of inputs to create the outputs. So being a manager that understands those risks as well as the rewards is very important.
Yes. Yeah. I second that. Everything does not go right. You know, as I tell people a lot of times, you know, you watch, say for an investor, from the investor perspective, you watch HGTV, 1 hour show, everything goes right. That 160-minute show and everything goes right. There's sunshine and rainbows, but trust and believe me, it definitely is not that way. I've learned that the hard way.
Oh, yeah, especially on a renovation.
Yes.
Mr.
Yep.
Crow once said, I told him I was renovating my first house when we had our second child, and he said, "Oh, love renovations." He said, have you done your budget? And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Well, always get 3 bids." I said, "Oh, that's wise." He goes, "And add them up."
I like that. He's 100% right on that. Yes, that's just how it goes. Oh man. Now, how do you see technology reshaping the real estate industry?
Well, I think the most obvious is it's given us a whole new category of assets in the data centers. 15 years ago, we did not know what a data center or a life science center was. And both of those are new asset classes that are experiencing tremendous growth as the life science industry serves the research and pharma industries, and data centers serve cloud computing and AI. And so I think that's probably the most profound effect. I think the third, and a little bit to a lesser, but I mean, there are a couple of the way the hospitality industry is able to use technology to do real-time pricing for their rooms as the inventory is sold every day. The same applies to the apartment industry for determining market research to decide how to offer pricing for units. And then for the investment community, the ease of research today by things that used to be only available by knocking doors and asking about rental rates and occupancy are pretty much available through subscriber services for the touch of your, a keyboard today to put together an investment book to determine whether or not the numbers of your underwriting make sense. And those are all relatively new phenomena for how technology has improved the industry.
The best piece of advice you've ever received in your career?
Oh, that's deep. Back to the people and the culture. I once had a consultant say, strategy is good, but culture can eat strategy for breakfast. So you can have a great idea, you can have a great strategy, but if you don't have the people to execute it and the culture to make it happen and endure, you're missing out. And so I think building a culture to achieve your goals is probably that piece of advice was probably one of the best.
Okay. So, what's next for you after retirement? How do you stay connected with the real estate world?
Well, thank you. I'm sitting on 3 boards, and then I'm very passionate about redevelopment of my small hometown in Blytheville, Arkansas, where I grew up, as we launched the National Cold War Museum there on the site of the former Eaker Air Force Base, which was one of the headquarters of the Strategic Air Command for the B-50 bomber program. It's the longest runway in the world, has one of the last underground molehill alert facilities, and so it's going to be one of 14 national museums that's not in Washington, D.C., and it's going to be an important cultural and tourism agent for also improving the economy of one of the most impoverished regions of our country. So that particular area is now well known as one of the largest steel producing counties in the country. It's also a large cotton producing region of the country. But after that base closed in 1992, the economy went through a huge transition. So if you think about tourism as an economic catalyst, this National Museum will be very important to Northeast Arkansas. In a wild contrast, it's not totally dissimilar to what Alice Walton did in Bentonville around Walmart when she created the Crystal Bridges Museum to add to the arts and cultural vibrance of Northwest Arkansas that had experienced great boom because of Walmart, but lacked some of the cultural vibrance that she wanted to see in her hometown there. I think this National Cold War Museum can make a tremendous impact, along with some other cultural points. The Johnny Cash Boyhood Home, the Sultana Museum, Graceland, Elvis Presley's home in Memphis gets 1,400,000 visitors a year. If a few of those visitors will go across the Arkansas Bridge and come up and see us in Blytheville, we're expecting to see visitation in the 70 to 90,000 a year, and it will really make a difference in that economy. So that's a passion of mine, in addition to staying close as a board member on 3 real estate companies.
Okay, nice. Is there any person, whether real estate related or not, that has really led to your success?
The Trammell Crow company culture that I started in really spawned passion for the industry with great teaching. Most every superior that I had in that organization was a great teacher. So Mr. Crow set a great culture in place back in 1948 when he started the company. And it continues today with a great culture at Crow Holdings, but in the meantime spun off many companies that you know, like Gables and Avalon Bay and Wyndham Hotels and Trammell Crow Distribution Company, the industrial company that sold into what became Prologis. All of those companies have Crow heritage, Lincoln property, so many. I learned a lot from the people about how Mr. Crow used to say, we're not in the real estate business, we're in the community development business. are in the community betterment business was the term he used. And I think that's really a charge to all of us in the real estate industry. If you're going to do something in real estate, it better make your community and your neighborhood better with each project that you touch, because your name's on it and it's going to last a long time.
So as we start to wrap up here, do you have any last words of advice for our listeners with regards to real estate space, development, the economy, trends, or anything like that?
Another good question, Cedric. I will tell you, I've been reading a lot from a philosopher named Roger Scruton, Scruton, who was a philosophy teacher at Oxford. And he offers a challenge to city planners and developers to not ever forget the need for beauty in our society. And especially as we deal with the times of polarization that we've been experiencing in the U.S. Arts, culture, beauty, green space, architecture, gathering spaces are neutral territories of beauty that bring people together as opposed to separate us. And as you look at points in civilization where big projects have been done to bring people together, whether it's the Colosseum in Rome or the Houses of Parliament in London, the Empire State Building in New York, great structures with an eye toward beauty and changing the environment make a difference for the good for society, especially when it's integrated with arts and culture and green space and gathering space. So as a thought, I would leave us with the goal of not neglecting beauty as we use real estate to change society.
Well, Byron, it has been a blast having you as our guest today. As we close out, please tell our listeners where they can learn more about you, get in touch with you, learn about all the fabulous things you have going on right now.
You can catch me on LinkedIn for sure. As it relates to good research, I have to put a plug in for my former firm, PwC. Emerging Trends in Real Estate 2025 is available at pwc.com and gives you a great insight into where respondents to that survey think we're going for the coming year. And it's always instructive. It's a good Bible for marching forward with your own plans, with which markets to consider, which products to consider, and behavioral trends associated with each product type. I'm a big fan of Emerging Trends.
Great. I will definitely make sure that I download that and read up on it, definitely. So again, Byron, awesome. Again, I want to thank you for your time today and all the wisdom you have provided to my listeners. It's greatly appreciated. And I want to thank you, our fans, for tuning in to another Service to Syndication Real Estate podcast, where we want to provide value to you in your investing business. Please tune in to our next episode, where we will interview another fantastic real estate professional. See you next time.
Thank you, Cedric.
Thanks for listening to the Service to Syndication podcast. We want you to know that we love and appreciate your support, and we are grateful about being a part of your journey to becoming a successful real estate entrepreneur. Please share this episode with a friend who you think will get a lot out of what you just heard. Send it to someone who you know is interested in real estate and dreams of having it all and being the best they can be in all areas of life. And if this was really valuable, share it on your social media stories and timelines. Thank you for watching and listening. Now go be great.